Can you heal from shame? My name is Carolyn Cowan and I'm a trauma therapist. I specialise in shame. I've written a book about shame, The Path Out of Hell. It's a good book, I know this. I run a 3-day in-person workshop if you actually want to shift your shame. It's in London. I only do this workshop in person. And I'm going to go deeper now into that question, can you get rid of your shame? I have specialised in shame for over 20 years. And I know that's a funny thing to say, because you could say, well, therefore you're really shaming. That's not the point. I specialise in shame because a lot of people have shame. Shame comes generally from abuse and trauma, but it can also come from life events and perhaps events and experiences where you feel that you failed. And really oddly, it can come from miscarriage, it can come from infertility, it can also be linked to things like impotence. But shame in its deepest form is the most toxic of all the emotions that we can feel. It's an extremely visceral emotion. It's a very deep emotion in the psyche, in the sense of the self. And I've talked about this before in other videos. Shame is in essence a crack in your psyche, and shame creates, in different psychotherapeutic models, it creates a primal wound, a core wound, and a fracture to the sense of self and an inner child wounding. Now, we do lots of things with our shame. We turn it on ourselves. You might notice you might be really horrible to yourself. You might notice that your shame creates quite toxic emotions that are really unbearable, and you act out. You can act out in your shame. You can get really angry. You can hurt somebody else. You can say stuff that you wish you hadn't. Shame is also linked to all the addictive processes. So you might have a shame trigger and you might find yourself wanting to take drugs, wanting to drink. And I'm not saying don't do those things, but for a lot of people, those things become a problem. They very quickly lose their charm, and then all of a sudden you're finding yourself in behavior patterns and ways of feeling and being that are a continuous loop of shame. So can you get rid of your shame? My answer to that question is you may still be triggered after you've done the workshop. If you work with the book, I'm pointing at the book, it's behind me here. You can still be triggered, you can. I've been working on shame for myself for over 20 years and I can still have a shame trigger. But what you learn from the work I do and the book I've written is that you learn that when you're triggered into shame, you become very young. You lose your sense of self. You drop. In psychotherapeutic terms, you become very, very young. I can ask that question. How old do you feel when you're anxious? How old do you feel when you're really triggered? And you might find that you become very young. Some people say 3, some people say 14. And the problem is you behave as if you are that young. Now, what that means is that you won't make adult decisions and you won't make adult choices. You'll make the choices that you might have made in your defensive actions, your safety mechanisms, again, another video, and you'll act out and you'll act in while you still hold on to toxic stories about yourself, things that were done to you, things that you might have done. So, can you get rid of your shame? Yes. What you can do is you can let go, you can release the deepest core wounding because you can learn to adult that part of yourself. You can learn over time. There are a lot of tools in the book that will help you to regain a sense of agency, to be able to see that you could make an adult choice here. Now, there are multiple things that I will talk about over all the time that I do these videos. You can stretch and release the shame trigger. You can make choices to parent yourself. Because notice, if you get triggered and you drop, you're very, very young. So you learn a huge number of tools to be able to say, okay, I feel shame. Do I have to react? No. What do I want to do about the fact that I feel shame? And of course, we've all got a fuck it button. You could have a really big, juicy, flashing red fuck it button. It could also be really dark and sticky. I don't know what your fuck it button looks like. Only you know. But when you feel your shame, you could decide, I'm believing a very old story about myself. I'm believing that somehow I'm failed, I'm flawed, I'm failing, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm unlovable. There are so many different words that apply to the emotions that belong to shame. Shame has an arcana of feelings that we can have about ourselves, and generally we turn them in, but we also act them out. So can you heal your shame? You can heal the part of you that believes the shame. You can heal the part of you that believes that you're toxic. You can start to notice when you're triggered and actually do something about it. And I thought today, because it's come up a lot over this weekend, I was running a training this weekend. When you're triggered, everything becomes very contracted. It becomes very tight. Your body tightens up. Your mind becomes extremely negative. You have a whole raft of thought processes that take you into shame. And if you can catch that, I know that some shame triggers for some people could last 2, 3, 6 weeks. Quite often, if you hit a period where you're really, let's say, hypothetically acting out in sugar or overeating or starving yourself because you feel like you've hit shame, over time, what you can learn to do is shorten the length of time that you act out in the trigger. That time gets shorter and shorter until you learn to be able to go, that's interesting. That's interesting. That made me feel really uncomfortable. I feel triggered. What am I going to do to change how I feel to the better? How am I going to allow myself to make decisions for life and health? What do I need to do? Now, there's a whole raft of stuff here that can be available to you. Stretching is so simple to say, but for the purposes of today, what I want to suggest, it's very simple. When you get triggered, you tighten up. Your thought process has become very negative. I ask you to think, okay, if I'm feeling really negative, I could smile. There's a smile. I could smile. If you smile and you slow your breathing down, so when you're stressed and anxious, your breath rate is 15 to 16 breaths a minute. Let's imagine I notice I'm breathing very fast. I'm upset. Slow your breathing down, go into your body, take over your diaphragm, push your diaphragm down, make your belly swell. Slow your breath down and smile. When you smile and you slow your breath down and you take over your diaphragm, you tell your brain and your body that you're safe enough. Safe enough is a really interesting thing. You go in the choice that you make at that point. You go from being a child, you slow your breathing down and you smile, you become an adult. Now, sometimes you may not want to do that in the office, in the face of whatever's happening that's shaming or triggering. You might want to, I don't know, go and sit on the loo, go and sit in the bathroom, go outside, stretch open yourself up. Take a really deep breath. Take 3 really deep, slow breaths, and then smile for 3 long, deep breaths. What you're doing when you do that is you're going into your body and you're taking over the mechanism that tells you that you're wrong, you're bad, you've failed, you're abandoned, you're unwanted. You're saying to your brain, part of your brain at the back, the amygdala, you're saying to your mind, hang on. You're saying to your body, we don't need to be in attack, protect and defend right now. It's okay. I don't have to lash out or hurt myself or anybody else. Let me slow down. So I'm giving you a kind of, it's not really an emergency intervention. It's a really positive intervention that you can use to go, okay, I notice. So I'm talking about shortening the distance between being triggered and acting out, choosing to change. Notice, I don't like how I'm thinking. I don't like how I feel. It's my brain, it's my mind, it's my body. Let me calm it down. There's a really interesting thing here, because what you're starting to learn to do, and it's the thing I'm really interested in as a trauma therapist, is you're learning to adult yourself. You actually go into the primal wound, the core wounding, the inner child wounding that I mentioned earlier, and you say, hey, little one, we don't like how we're feeling. There's literally, it's like you have a split. The shame creates a split. And so by noticing, you can say, I could go and do something terrible to myself or hurt or whatever, but I could also say to that child part, okay, this is uncomfortable. I don't have to buy into all of these feelings. I can change them. I can stop them. So in the bigger picture of can you let go of your shame, I think it's a really great question. Shame is one of the oldest emotions. It's a biblical emotion. The first time we read about shame for most of us is actually in the Bible. Now, you might not have read the Bible, but Adam and Eve, if you know anything about Adam and Eve, you know, the snake said, eat the apple, she ate the apple, and they knew shame. And they were thrown out of paradise to become the human race. And so shame is actually, it's an important emotion. But for most of us, it's an extremely toxic emotion. Maybe not for most of us, for lots of us. And if you're wanting to work on your shame, it is about noticing the vast difference between when you are okay and when you're triggered. And when you're triggered, it's shortening the time and noticing, my mind has gone into a really dark place. I feel toxic. What do I want to do about it? So in essence, it's about saying, can you heal your shame? Yes, because the shame is yours. Someone else might have given it to you. Toxic shame is where you have internalized what somebody else said or did to you, or how you feel about something that you might have done. You internalize the shame. You get triggered, you feel it. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. You notice that you've dropped. And you take a moment, you take a beat. Somebody I know says, take a beat. You take a beat. I'm going to adult myself. The process of adulting is a piece of work. It takes time. Shame is a very entrenched, very dug into your system emotion. And over time, there's lots of different ways that you can learn to change how you feel. And learn to take care of the child part of you, and learn perhaps not to let the child part make childish decisions. So yes, you can learn an enormous amount to deal with your shame. And you can say to me, do I still get triggered? Yes, I've been working on my shame for 20 years. Do I still get triggered? Yes, I do. And when I notice that I feel triggered, I will stretch. I will release my body. Follow me, copy me, do what I'm doing. Move your shoulders. Stretch your mouth, relax your face, slow your breathing down. And then the adult person can go, okay, somebody might have looked at me askance, they might have said something, I might have remembered something, but am I okay right now? What do I need to do to get myself safe? And in getting yourself safe, you actually step away, beautiful person, and you give yourself and everyone around you a break. It takes time and it does take work, but it is, yes. It's so liberating. It's such a glorious relief, and it really helps if you're trying to get sober, trying to stay clean, hate your anxiety, work on your shame. It makes a huge difference.